Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on DCTV, but more specifically the Arrowverse. Now, this is a video that I have no idea when I'm going to release it. It's just something that I'm making, and then I'll just leave it in the back burner for when I feel like this is the time to upload it. I'm not too sure. But a website called Bam Smack Pow, and I guess more directly, its Twitter account did like a public sort of reach out to, I guess, Arrowverse fans and stuff like that, and asked them for what they thought was the biggest mistake that the Arrowverse did. And they did a top 10 compilation. So normally I wouldn't go over these like opinionated pieces, because let's be honest, you just get some stupid takes. And there could be some stupid takes in here. I don't know. This is a blind reaction. Outside of the first one, that because it's on like the opening thing, I don't know what the rest of these are. So these are going to be some honest reactions. So we'll wait and see what it's like. But normally I wouldn't go over them if it's like a personal opinion. But these are like actually like, I guess, fan voted. So I thought, that's got my curiosity. So I'll record a video and we'll just see how it goes and everything like that. So let's go through it. These are, I guess, ranked, I guess, from top 10, like number 10 to number 1. I'd assume so. I don't know if it's in any random order. I'd assume they're ranked. So let's go over them. But of course, throughout the video, let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts on this. Do you agree with these? Do you agree with some? Or do you disagree with my opinion on how I view this and stuff like that? And of course, if you want to drop a like on the video, show support. Takes 2 seconds to, click that like button. So the first one, number 10, bringing Black Lightning and Supergirl to Earth Prime too late. Now, I'm not going to read this person's description because that just folds into, like, I guess, some bias or their opinion and stuff like that. So it's mainly just the actual choice there. So bringing Black Lightning and Supergirl to Earth Prime too late. Now, I disagree with this in a sense that I don't think it necessarily mattered. I think one of the things that really hammers down on this is that I don't know if they were expecting that the Flash and Black Lightning would instantly become this, like, I guess, partnership or friendship that people will be excited for. I guess just maybe whether it's the age gap and stuff like that. But when, Grant Gustin and Chris Williams or Barry and Jefferson on screen together as the Flash and Black Lightning, they just worked really well together. And it's just one of the things like, man, I wish you could have seen more. And it was just like the really bad timing where I think it was like the season after Crisis, Black Lightning ended, but it was the COVID season as well. So there was nothing, like, none of that could happen. It was just one of those bad timings thing. I think even with the Supergirl aspect, it's bad timing just of when the show ended, and then it was COVID and everything like that. There would have been much more interactions, and they pretty much said that was the plan, that there would be more crossovers and stuff, or like, one episode appearances. But of course, COVID happened and they couldn't do that. So it's one of those things where it's just bad timing. In regards to it being too late, I mean, you couldn't really fold them over. Like, what, do you want a Crisis to happen 2 or 3 seasons earlier? Like, they put Crisis where it just worked, So, and we got a lot of Supergirl crossovers and stuff like that. So I think it's maybe the lack of Black Lightning crossovers, but then at the same time, it's not like a ridiculous amount of people were screaming for it until we saw that it worked, and we're like, oh, maybe we should have got more of it. So it's just one of those things, I guess. At number 9, we have not going forward with Green Arrow and the Canaries, Painkiller, and the Wonder Girl spin-offs. Now, I mean, for me personally, obviously this is my personal opinion, I don't really care. The only one that was actually something interesting was Wonder Girl, and I was sort of curious where they could have taken that, just because they were using a fairly new character in the comics, which really had no story there. So the CW could have done all like the DC and Warner Brothers, and the TV side of things could have done their own little thing there, and not necessarily being like constrained by the comics, or like people going, well, that didn't happen in the comics, blah 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 blah. They could do their own thing there. But overall, like, I don't really care too much. But I know there were a lot of people that really wanted Green Arrow and the Canaries, or they really wanted Painkiller, or they really wanted Wonder Girl. I think it's mainly those first two, Green Arrow, the Canaries, and Painkiller, because they were direct spin-offs of the show they were within. And then they had like specific backdoor pilots and stuff like that. The biggest surprise, I was really surprised that Green Arrow and the Canaries didn't go forward. But once again, it was sort of caught up in that, like, the COVID stuff and everything. So, and then like Superman and Lois got delayed, so I think that probably hurt Green Arrow and the Canaries. I actually sort of do think that Superman and Lois getting delayed that whole period was why Green Arrow and the Canaries didn't get picked up, because it sort of took that slot of a new show where Superman and Lois would have come earlier. But yeah, for me, I don't really care too much because I wasn't as connected to all of these, but I can understand why other people were. Okay, this is an interesting one. As I said, I'm like sort of blind reacting to these, and I didn't realize this would be an option, but it was at number 8, it's Supergirl's drop in quality and production values. Now, to me, I mean, I didn't really notice that. Now, obviously, I watched I think I've watched all the episodes, like all the episodes of every season of Supergirl, or at least maybe in like one of the seasons I skipped it because it was just sort of, well, it was crap. It was one of those like that really bad season of Supergirl. I can't remember which one it was, but I just sort of like skipped some of the episodes because people online said, "Oh, you don't have to watch them; you can just skip those and catch up here and stuff." But I can't remember this. Maybe it was just like they did a lot of like office indoor scenes and stuff. Maybe that's what's being referred to here. But yeah, this is one of those ones where I don't really have too much of a thought process in it, just because I can't remember, to be completely honest. In regards to like the drop in quality, like they do mention here in this first line, like that when I think it's mainly maybe emphasizing on the production value, not the story quality, because I think like Supergirl got like I think Supergirl's best season is season 4, and then like season 5 is better than some of those earlier seasons and stuff like that. So I think maybe it's just like they didn't do as much supery stuff, if that makes sense, outdoors and stuff. And that's where the production value side of things comes into it. At least that's what I'm thinking based off this. And number 7, and I actually thought this might have been a bit higher, which makes me very curious what top 6 is going to be. But The Flash's final season was a complete misfire. And I don't want to say it was a complete misfire because it has two of the I think it has the best episode potentially of the show in it, completely in it, which is what, episode 7? What the episode that Barry goes back to? Yeah, episode 7, because I think it was A New World Part 1. 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I think it was episode 7, unless I'm tripping out, I'm not too sure. It was the first part of the New World thing, whatever episode number that was. But I think as a whole, I think it was a lot of wasted time. I think and then you could argue that's where the misfire comes into it. But I think like that Red Death arc, I think it's just so forgettable. I am fine with the final arc. I don't really like the stuff that they do with the villains, even though it's only like a 5-minute portion of the finale. That's the only real part I don't like in that sort of that final thing. I'm fine with the rest of it. And obviously I really like some of those earlier episodes. And of course you have that Oliver Queen episode, but I just felt like they were, I don't know if it was a combination of like being rushed, or they just didn't necessarily know what they were going to do, or they had certain plans and then they had to be changed around because maybe they thought they were getting more episodes and stuff, because it was reported they were getting 18 and then it was 15 and then it ended up on, was it 13 or something like that? I'm not too sure exactly how many episodes they ended up on. So it just felt like it was maybe like disorganized, and then it led into it being messy, and in some people's eyes like a complete misfire. I don't know if it's a complete misfire, but I think definite parts of it were a misfire, like that Red Death arc and some of the other like the filler episodes and stuff. It was just a bit messy. And number 6, just simple, too much reliance on teams. Now, of course, this is emphasizing like how you have Team Arrow, Team Flash. Well, I guess Legends of Tomorrow is specifically meant to be a team show, so you wouldn't refer to that. And then obviously like Supergirl's team and stuff like that. And I think in the show, or just in a live action show, especially when you have like what, 20 episodes, or at least like 15 to 16 episodes a season, your character has to have people there to talk to. I think one of the big issues was that like when like a character left and they weren't too sure how to replace them, so sometimes they just wouldn't replace them, they'd replace them with 2 characters, and that was probably where it became a bit of an issue. Like I think Flash was very emphasized on that. I think Arrow balanced it fairly well. Of course, people didn't like some of the people they had on Arrow, but I think it was fairly balanced outside of that, what was it, season 5 or whatever. Well, no, yeah, the beginning of season 5 when they were doing that new Team Arrow thing, it was a bit unbalanced at the beginning there at the very least. But I think it was probably an emphasis on Flash here, because I think Supergirl balanced it fairly well. Like they just sort of like, if someone left, they, you know, I don't know if they really became too unbalanced outside of like maybe people, it didn't make sense if they were there, because you had a Kryptonian and like Martian Manhunter, and then you had someone who had no powers at all. It felt a bit weird. But I think it's mainly the Flash, and I agree on certain aspects. Like I think like White Chillblain and Allegra were there, but then like you have someone like Chester who was a good, I think like he just slotted into that Cisco role. Was he as good as Cisco? Hell no, but he slots into that role. And when you have those things there, sometimes it allows the writers or just the show and the producers and stuff in general to fall back on them, because it can just be like an easy way to give your star a rest. You know, it's annoying. It is annoying. I don't know if it's reliance. I think it's just more like it's an excuse to like do something else. And now we move into the top 5. I'm very interested to see what this top 5 is, but at number 5, starting off, we have Dropping the Ball with John Diggle's Green Lantern arc. And I think, like, I agree with this, by the way. Okay, I should have start off by saying I agree with it. The one thing I'm curious about when it comes to this thing here, this like arc, is if they hadn't ended it in season 8 of The Flash. Yeah, it was at the end there because they thought that that might have been the final season. If they knew they were getting season 9, would they have done that? And then would they try to have done something interesting in season 9 with Diggle there? And coming back for like his own individual episode potentially, and that could have been one of the filler episodes that we got rather than some of those other ones we got. And then he also could have been in that Oliver Queen episode also. That makes me very curious. Eric Wallace has like not specified it outside of mentioning that he sort of wanted to do Blackest Night as a potential crossover if they got more seasons, or if the season 9 was longer, which obviously you'd think, you know, Diggle would be a part of, or they'd have some sort of lantern aspect in there. But I'm just very curious if they didn't drop it in season 8, like stop it there in season 8, what it could have been. But because of that, and you have to base off what came or what we got to see, they definitely dropped the ball because there was a lot of build up and then it just sort of ended. I didn't actually mind the way they did it, like where Diggle got to make this decision. It was just a lot of build up for nothing. And that can be very, very frustrating, especially if you're like thinking what's going to happen. And number 4, we have most Arrowverse shows ran too long. So I think this is not necessarily saying like, oh, it had 23 episodes a season, but it had 8, 7, 9, 6 seasons, whatever it might be. And to a degree, I agree with this, but at the same time, it's a network TV show. Like, it's not, I think people try to compare them, especially nowadays. And this, like, you don't want to point at like younger people, like a 14-year-old saying it, because it's all they know. Like they see Netflix shows and stuff like that. But it's a network show. Like the network show is like, if it's performing, they keep on doing it. You know why? Because it makes them money. They're going to keep on making it. That's just the simple fact of it. So when the show's ended, it's because they probably felt it was the right time for it to go in regards to like it being beneficial for all parties, you know, whether the actor wants to leave. And, you know, like Supergirl ended because Melissa Benoist wanted to leave. To a degree, Flash ended. Like I think Flash would have only got one more season, even if Grant necessarily didn't want it to end. Well, Legends ended on its own accord, but then like Arrow ended, for example, because Stephen Amell at least wanted a break from the show, or just wanted to try other things. So sometimes the show ends because the actor wants to go, and then sometimes it ends because it's just not beneficial for the network or the production company or the studio to keep it going, which we saw in the cases of like Legends and Batwoman, for example, right there. So it's a network show. I think it's just because it's in that genre and stuff, and, you know, people pointing it. But then there's shows that go on for like, I mean, I don't even want to think what that Grey's Anatomy show's on. But then like Big Bang Theory went for like 13 seasons and stuff like that. It's just how network TV is. Now, is it going to happen anymore? God, no. Unless it's on like one of those procedural shows on like ABC, like 911 or NCIS or some crap like that. And even then, who knows if that happens now? He's still with the age of streaming and network TV is going or getting less and less viewers. So it's just how it was. And the Arrowverse was just caught in that transition. Like it started just before the streaming thing became big. And then it was just, I guess, in the middle of itself, if not its prime, when the streaming stuff was really getting big. So I was just caught in that. And I guess that's how people think. So that's fair enough. But I just view it as like the network shows just go until they're not beneficial. And that's what happened with the Arrowverse. Okay, I just scrolled over. I was like, what's going to be in the top 3? Because I was thinking, like, honestly, like that one, they ran too long or they got drawn out, whichever way you want to word it would be up there, but it's only number 4. And then I click on number 3 and it's Olicity. Look, I didn't like Olicity. It was just, I think it just became like, it just became too weird. Like, yeah, I don't care if anyone else likes it. That's fair enough. You like what you want. It just didn't work. It just didn't work, and I think they backed themselves into a corner with it, and they're like, God, we spent so much time on this, we can't really back out, can we? So it is what it is. I don't really care if people like it and stuff like that. I just don't care for it. But anyway, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I just thought it was funny that it made its way into the top 3. Really? I thought some of those other ones would have been top 3. This might have been like lower, but anyway, somehow it was in the top 3. And number 2, we mentioned this previously, but the cancellations of Batwoman and Legends of Tomorrow, they feel like this is one of the biggest Arrowverse mistakes. With Batwoman, not really, I don't think so. Like, you know, like, I thought Batwoman was just really mid as a show, but I also don't think it was ever really great or ever really terrible. I just thought it was incredibly mid, but I didn't really care for it as a show. But once again, that's my opinion. If you're a viewer that, you know, like Batwoman, you're going to disagree, which is fair enough. Legend of Tomorrow I thought was weird just because of how they ended the show. Like, at least Batwoman ends in a way where it's somewhat an ending, and I guess it's not really, but it's like not as a harsh ending as Legend of Tomorrow, where it's a literal cliffhanger as to what the hell's going to happen with these people. But with, you know, Batwoman, at least the character got to come back and be in the Flash and have some sort of ending or farewell to the character at the very least. Legends is like this weird situation where we still do not know what's happening there. We still don't. We still do not know what's happening there. But yeah, I think, like, I don't know if it's one of the biggest mistakes. I think it's like just one of the biggest, like, probably just the circumstances of what was happening at that point. You know, like, it's not like an intentional mistake. It's just how things happen. So it is what it is, you know. But I understand people being upset about it. And at number 1, I am surprised this is number one. Like, once again, like, it could have been one that easily was in the top 10. As I said, I don't know if this is 100% ranked, and like, this is like literally the one that people voted for the most, but it's at the number one spot here, and that's killing off the Black Canary on a Green Arrow show. Now, of course, this was a bad thing. Like, I think, especially the way that she dies, it's like incredibly stupid. I was really pissed off at the time. I was like, how do you, even just the way that like a main character gets killed is very, very stupid. And earlier in the season, Felicity got made into Swiss cheese while in that limo from like a bajillion bullets, and somehow was fine. Well, wasn't fine, I guess. She couldn't walk, but then was able to walk again like half a season, like not even half a season later. It was a bit silly, and then this happened. But I think the thing that I view, and I think most people would agree with it, is that this led to a better version of Laurel Lance coming into the show with the Earth 2 version. It was a character that was just, I think, cooler, and I think Katie Cassidy, who played the character, just fit that version more. And honestly, I think if you asked her, she'd be like, yeah, I think I actually enjoy playing this character more. So the actual scene where we get the killing off of Black Canary on Green Arrow was incredibly stupid, and just what the hell were they thinking? Very dumb. But it led to a better version of the character coming in. That's how I view it. But at the time, I think everyone was like, this is so stupid. How'd you do that? And it didn't help that it was in Arrow season 4, which was obviously not very good. That didn't help either. But yeah, that's this top 10 list of the world's biggest, oh no, not world's, worst, biggest Arrowverse mistakes. That's what it's called. I'll leave the link to it in the description down below if you want to check it out and actually read the guy's description here, because like a mini essay in each single one, which I couldn't be bothered reading out. Would have made this video like 70 minutes long or something. But yeah, I'll leave the link, a link in the description down below. But of course, let me know in the comment section down below. Do you agree with this list? Do you agree with what I think? Do you disagree with me? Disagree with my thoughts, or disagree with the list? Do you have any other biggest mistakes that they should have put in here? Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.